Well, I'm PJ Bishop. Welcome to my channel and the ongoing series with the Oakland A's. The 2025 draft has just completed. It's not as deep as last year's class, but still filled with plenty of talent. And I feel like all 20 of my draft picks were, in fact, worthy of becoming good prospects and potential MLB players at some point in their career if they can develop fully and progress up the organizational ladder. Let's start with my first overall pick, and that was the first round, fifth overall. So I had in the first round I had the fifth pick, and then every other round after that I had the second overall pick. So in the lottery I lost 3 spots. So instead of picking second, I picked fifth. So first round, fifth overall, I went with starting pitcher Jamie Arnold. There he is right here, 21 years old. So he was a college pitcher. Looks to be pretty good. He's got plus stuff, average movement, and nearly plus control. Stamina's not quite high, so he's not going to go into deep games, especially if he gets into a heavy full counts. But looks like he got a little worse this year. I guess these are just made up stats anyway. It's not like, but he's got a 4-pitch mix of really good pitches here. As you can see, his fastball is nearly elite, slider is nearly elite, curveball is plus, and changeup is nearly plus. So really good stuff there. 4 pitches that look like they're going to come out to be really good. So overall, he looks like he's already 30 overall, so he's already progressed some. Hopefully he maintains it. TCR has a funny way of ruining your draft class in just a matter of a couple of months. So we'll see if this holds up. If he holds up, he's got frontline starter potential. We'll have to keep adding more frontline starting pitching because pitching is always going to be a thing of need. And I think, I'm not sure, but when you trade them, I think you get better prospects in return, as pitching is a little more premium. It's hard to get a frontline starter, so if you are willing to trade one at a fairly decent young age, which we will have to eventually, as we can't really afford to keep them all. In the second round, I ended up going with first baseman Donovan Jeffrey. Where is he? Isn't that ABC order? There we go. There's Donovan Jeffrey, 18-year-old, so he's a high school kid. He's got perfect grade power, so if that ever actually holds up, he's going to be a true first baseman. Although it looks like he'll be a right-hander, which is fine, but that power right there alone is enough for me to take him. Second round pick, I think it was a great second round pick considering how much power he has, which is something that we lack. Now, he doesn't have any other valuable attributes, so if he doesn't develop and hit well, hopefully that the avoid K doesn't get any lower than what it is now. 'Cause he looks like he's going to barely be batting 220 when he gets up, but he's got the potential to hit 40, 50 homers a year. That's the kind of power he has. So he has some prodigious power. Defensively, it looks like he's going to be a very lackluster defender. Maybe roughly an average defender in left field. Above average at first when he fully develops. He's probably going to find himself playing first base a lot and possibly DHing in the minors. Because defensively, he's a liability. And no skill set on the base pass whatsoever. So he is pure power if he can develop into it. As you can see here, even high school, 19 homers, 14 home runs. Which is a lot for a high school player, I believe. I don't think they hit a lot of home runs, actually. Our third round pick was starting pitcher River Hamilton. River Hamilton, right here, 18-year-old, so a high school kid. Again, another guy that could develop into a frontline starter. That's the theme of I try to get pitching. I try to get good pitching, as it's always a priority for me. As I feel like it's easier to develop really good, or not really good, but easier to develop batters than it is pitchers. Because their pitchers are just so inconsistent from year to year. It's just hard to. So I kind of go with the whole shotgun spread system where if I have 10 pitchers that I draft, someone out of that class, more than someone, you hope at least 2 or 3 do hit exactly as they project or better. So you just keep adding, keep adding until eventually you kind of catch up. This is only my second class, which means they're still far away from contributing. But every year we get a little closer, and they get promoted, and they get a little closer to the higher minors, and eventually my team. But anyway, he has nearly plus stuff, above average movement and average control. So good looking stuff for a starting pitcher. 3 pitches that rate projected to be rating plus or slightly better. So he looks like a good pitcher. He's got 3 solid pitches. He's got good stuff. It looks like he shouldn't be giving up too many home runs or a ton of base hits. Control is average, so it's not great, but it's not bad either. This is someone that if he can stick to his projections, will be a very good starter for us in the future. I mean, more than likely 5 years away before he makes any sort of impact. Our 4th round pick was starting pitcher JT Quinn. There he is down here. He's out of college. JT Quinn was out of college, 21 years old. He's got plus stuff, above average movement, and below average control. With 3 solid pitches, he's got a plus fastball, a plus slider, and a plus changeup. So 3 good pitches to go along with his stuff. Now, if he doesn't stick as a starter, I think there's more than enough skill there for him to become a solid long reliever in the bullpen. I think it's someone who can, in fact, be in the bullpen if he doesn't make out as a starter. So again, another good pick here, a college kid, so hopefully he can develop a little quicker and move up the chain faster than your average draftee. In the 5th round, I went with starting pitcher Patrick Forbes. There he is right here, another college arm. Patrick Forbes, he's got average stuff, average movement, below average control. What I liked about him was his pitch mix. I think since they're all at least plus, I do like that. I think he can be a decent starter. Again, he's one of those guys that could find himself in the bullpen later on in his career if he doesn't make it as a starter. He's not a frontline starter. I think, if anything, he's going to be a 4 or 5 starter, possibly a bullpen arm, not even a top option, just a good bulk-in and reliever guy that I can put in and save my arms in case if we're up big. I mean, he's, like I said, this class wasn't as deep, so you're starting to find that out with the picks I'm making here. Still trying to do the best I can. With the 6th round pick, we picked center fielder Ken Vu, 21-year-old out of another college kid, Arizona State University. I liked him because of his overall skill set. He's not great at any one thing, but overall he looks good. I like his ability. He's got above average power. The bat's above average. The avoid K's and I's a little sus, as they would say. He's got decent enough ability on the base pass to be dangerous, and as a defender, he's solid. He's a French center fielder. If that improves, he can become a center fielder. He's got almost the minimum arm strength I look for in a right fielder. I look for at least 60 or better, but he's definitely a good left fielder. So defensively, he should be solid, and it looks like he could play all 3 outfield slot positions. So that helps his value as he moves up the system, because he'll be able to play at least every outfield spot. And just out of curiosity, he could also slot into first base if needed. Since he does have above average power and he is left-handed, first base is not a bad place for him. Having left-handed bats is always useful. So yeah, overall, I think I like everything about him. He's a good overall product. In the 7th round, we went with first baseman Justin DeJong. I don't know if I'm even saying it right. He can also be a pitcher, so he's one of those dual. I noticed a lot of these classes have these dual guys. He's currently, again, he's got nearly plus power. That is his calling card. Because defensively, and he's also got plus stuff. So he actually has good looking stuff. So not only does he have good looking stuff, but he also has nearly plus power. So he's one of those He could be a long. He's going to end up being probably a reliever. I don't think he'll be a starting pitcher, but you never know. So it is interesting to see these kids. A lot of them are coming in with some good pitching attributes and good hitting attributes. Again, his calling card. If he's going to stick as a batter, his power has to hit. Because again, he looks like he's going to be a low average guy with a ton of home run potential. Not a threat in the base pass, but looks like he's going to be a solid defender at first base. And of course, his pitching is actually not bad. Like if you need him to come in as a reliever on his off day, like say he's not batting and he's off, I think he can come in and pitch well. Maybe left field in a pinch, but rather not. So not bad. Up next, we have my 8th round pick, starting pitcher Dylan Adkins. He is a high school arm. Not the greatest looking arm. He's currently a reliever. He was a starting pitcher when I drafted him, but since he's at the Arizona complex, I got him in as a reliever currently. So he might play in the playoffs because my Arizona complex is currently in the playoffs in a pretty good series. We're currently up 3-2 against Kansas City, I believe. So we're looking to defend our title, and we're got some guys that can come in and help us from this draft class like they did last year as well. Now with him, he's got average stuff, average movement, below average control. He's got a pretty good 3-pitch mix. Everything's above average or plus. The curveball is plus. He's got good stamina. And again, he's one of those guys that's a dual player. He can hit and pitch, but more than likely he's going to end up being a fringe starter someday. Maybe it's very difficult to tell how he's going to project. He's going to need to find another skill set somewhere to get a little better at to move him. Otherwise, he could find himself slowly being replaced by better guys every single draft class. That's the thing with this team. It's going to be a very competitive team. Every year, there's 20 new guys coming in, at least 20 new guys, plus the international draftees, and any trades that I make. So it's a lot of competition. With the number 9th round pick, we went with the relief pitcher Ryan Matheson. So this time we did actually go with a straight up reliever. He's a college arm. This one was. So he's got plus stuff, below average movement, and average control with 2 good pitches. This is what I like to see. If you're going to have, good attributes here, stick to 2 pitches that you're good at. No need to dip down and try to find something else. So yes, even though his overall is 45, potentially, my guess is because of the movement. The movement's pretty low. The home run. So he's going to have that home runitis, which is a little scary because you tend to not want to put those kind of guys in relief because you're relying on them not to give up any runs. So it almost makes you worry about putting him in high leverage situations because he's going to end up giving up a 2-run shot, a 3-run shot when you want 0 runs given up. I mean, I always want 0 runs, but it's going to happen. It's part of the game. But he looks like he's pretty darn good as a pitcher with his plus stuff. It's just a matter of getting this. Let's get some better movement on our pitches so we're not so easy to tee off of. And with our 10th round pick, we went starting pitcher Colton Hartman. But we have him in the bullpen now. He's got above average stuff, average movement, below average control. So he's one of those kids where with that control, he's not going to be a starter in the major leagues for me. So he's definitely destined for the bullpen. He's got decent enough stuff. He's going to be like a bottom end bullpen option because of his stuff just not being all that great either. His control not being great. So he's got a lot of things working against him. Still good enough to draft. And potentially as a hitter, he's got plus power. So that's another reason why I went after him. I saw that plus power and I was like, oh, I like that. So he's one of those guys that can develop and hopefully be an asset somewhere along the way, even if it ends up being just organizational depth. In the 11th round, I went with first baseman Derek Bender. I currently have him out in the left field. which means he's in my lineup. So if he's already at left field, that means he's actually in my lineup for the playoffs. So he's going to have an impact right away. He looks pretty good. A college bat. He's got above average power, average contact. The avoid Ks and Is a little low, so that's worrisome in the long term. But he's got elite stealing ability, even though he's got the aggressiveness and speed fairly low. But on the base pass itself, as far as running, so he's got good intelligence. He just doesn't. He's just not a fast guy or quick when it comes to the aggressiveness. Currently having as a left fielder, he's going to be looks like he can be a pretty below average catcher, a below average first baseman, and probably just an average left fielder, maybe a little above average. But so he's hovering around being average across the board, defensively or below average. I don't know if he'll ever develop into a full-time anything, to be honest. I think he can come in and have a chance. He's going to be one of those guys that isn't going to be my first option. Someone's going to have to be probably playing bad in front of him before he gets a chance to actually come up and show me what he's got. But right now, he's got a chance to make an impact in the Arizona Complex playoffs. In the 12th round, I went with right fielder Taylor Tracy. There's Taylor Tracy. He's a high school bat. I picked him again. Pretty easy pick with his plus power. It was a very easy pick for me. He's got, average on-base skills, and he's a pretty good defender. He's good enough to probably stick in right field throughout the entirety of his minor league career. He can play left as well. But right field is fine with him. Plus, he's got the power to play right. So he has a good profile for right field. He can also play left. I would prefer never to see him in center field. But considering that it's the minors, he might eventually end up in the center field sometime, just because the defenders there aren't always as good. But he looks like a solid bat. The power is what's going to play for him. So if he ever wants to see the lineup, that power is going to have to fully develop. And he's going to have to show some decent average to even get a chance to get called up. But not a bad player. In the 13th round, I went with starting pitcher Gavin Richards. Gavin Richards, is that his name? It is. This was a high school arm. Currently have him as a reliever. He's got, as a reliever, this is why his stuff looks even better than it was. Nearly plus stuff, below average movement and average control. So again, another guy with the movement being kind of low. Probably that's what's bringing down his overall. So if he can get some luck in the TCR department, perhaps we can get that movement heading up in the right direction. Fastball needs to improve. Slider needs to improve. So he's got a lot of things that he needs to improve. Really good stuff. Just surprisingly good stuff, even though the pitches on the individual bases aren't that good. So I am a little surprised. And his velocity is extremely low. It's in the 80s. But his projection still looks good. So we'll find out. And another reason why I did like him, I like his contact. He's got plus contact ability. So even if he ends up switching over to hitting full time, I think he can make an impact somewhere. Is kind of the reason we end up drafting him. In the 14th round, I went relief pitcher Gage Wood. Gage Wood, college arm here. Already fairly developed, so hopefully he's rising up the ranks quickly. We can see him next year going through it fast. I don't think he'll start in low A this year, probably next year. But he's got above average stuff, above average movement, below average control. So overall, he's a fine reliever. It's not. I wish the stuff was a little better, but at this point, we're in the 14th round, and the class is just not as deep. Now, he's got a really good pitch mix. He's got 4 pitches, all above average at least, and the other 3 are plus or better. So he does have a good pitch mix. The stamina is low. He purely is a reliever, and really the stuff isn't great. The movement isn't great. Control is below average, but I can live with that. He's actually really solid. I'm surprised he's only projected to be 40. Because, like I said, the 4 pitches are all above average or better. The stuff is above average. The movement is above average. The only thing below average is control. Yet somehow he's listed as just a 40 overall, even though everything is above average or better. So it's kind of weird that somehow it turns out to be just 40 potential. But that's just based off the league. This is just individual ratings, so they're together but separate. It's kind of weird. But anyway, he looks like he could be better than expected, and probably someone I could see in my bullpen doing a really good job. I mean, even though I do have a good bullpen now, I can always improve it. In the 15th round, relief pitcher Cassius Thomas. Cassius Thomas right here. He is a college pitcher. Solid looking again. He's got above average stuff, average movement, below average control, but he's got 3 pitches that are above average or better. So I trust that he can, and he's fairly developed already, so that means next year I hope that he quickly moves up through the rankings and gets going through our minors and becomes a possible relief option in a year or two. I don't want to see him living down in the minors forever at 21 years old. Because he'll be 22 when he starts next year. In the 16th round, I'm with relief pitcher A.J. Russell. So 3 relievers in a row. But that's just what we had available. I try to pick the best guy available. Again, another college arm. He's got average stuff, average movement, below average control. But 2 pitches, and that's all I think he needs, because the fastball is nearly plus. The slider is a plus. Velocity is good. He sits at 95, 97. He's only 21, so there's room to still improve. He's got good stamina, too. So even if, as a reliever, he can provide that long relief that you can rely at least on 2 solid innings for somebody like that. Of course, doesn't like to work very hard. But he looks pretty good. I think down the line he can be an option for us in the bullpen. Probably one of the lower options, last options to come out, but still nonetheless an option. In the 17th round, I went with starting pitcher Jace Hampson. Jace Hampson. He's down here. Currently have him relieving. He's out of high school. Perhaps he can make an impact this year. He's got above average stuff, below average movement, below average control. But again, I like the individual pitches themselves, so I hope that as he improves here, perhaps he can get some TCR love. A lot of these guys, you kind of hope they get some TCR love, because some guys get TCR love, some guys get TCR hate. So you end up seeing guys go up, and you end up seeing guys go down. It's extremely random. I don't know if my coaches have much of an impact. I don't know if the money I spend on development has much of an impact. It really seems just about as random as anything. You try to pick the best players available in the draft, and you just hope that you don't get screwed through TCR. I mean, that's really all it is. It's just, please don't screw me. In the 18th round, I went with relief pitcher Aiden Teal. Aiden Teal is down here. Good-looking kid. He's got average stuff, below average movement, and really bad control. Again, he's got 3 solid pitches. He's one of those guys where he's a future mop-up duty guy. Comes in when there's not in a high leverage situation. I wouldn't put him in a high leverage situation because he can't. Not only is he going to be liable to give up home runs, but he's also going to walk a lot of dudes. So he might have a hard time moving up my ranks, but still took him anyway because of the pitches themselves. So if this can improve, perhaps he'll find himself moving up and making an impact. 19th round, we picked catcher Carson Bowen. Catcher Carson Bowen, here he is. College bat here. He's very average looking. Like if you look at him, nothing jumps out. Nothing's overly exciting. Got average power, average contact, above average avoid Ks, below average I, gap power is average. So everything seems average. And then you look at his base running skills. Speed's average, stealing aggressive is average. The stealing ability and base running is below average. Now, he does have some potential as a catcher. Now, his blocking and framing do need to improve. Because if they can improve, he can at least provide some defensive relief. And he's already got some first base under his belt as well, which helps because I typically do like to have my catchers at least be able to have another position. Makes them a little more valuable. That's really it. First baseman, he's a fringe first baseman, not really that good there either. But he can play catcher. I think he's already got good arm strength. He just needs to get his blocking and framing up, and hopefully that too gets improved as he plays. Sometimes he can get lucky and that stuff jumps up. I don't know if it will, but he's got plenty of time to develop, as we got a pretty decent catcher already up there who's young. And then our last pick of the draft is starting pitcher Grayson Bowles. Grayson Bowles, I got him currently relieving though. As a reliever, he's a high school arm. He's got a nearly plus stuff, average movement, below average control, 4 pitches that all look really solid. Above average fastball, then a slider, curveball, and changeup that's either plus or nearly plus. And he's got pretty decent stamina at 55. I like him. I like him quite a lot, actually. Despite the fact that he's, not overwhelmingly projected to do well as far as his overall. I think as a starter, let's see if I move him as a starter. What does it look like? Stuff still stays at plus, which is what I was hoping for. So that to me is good news. So he does have so the stuff is there to play. Even if he never ends up being a starter, I think he can be a really good option out of the bullpen. He's one of those guys where you look at his overall and you go, it can't be that good. But I think out of the bullpen, he could be a really good option. And, there's a reason why my bullpen is number 1 in earned runs given up. I find guys like this, and I put them in there, and they do well. And he's actually better than some of the guys I have. Because his control isn't that bad. His movement is okay, and he's got really good stuff. So that's the draft class. It's kind of exciting. I think we currently have 5 guys not signed. Everyone else, I think the only person that's going to move on to single A to start the year is Jamie Arnold. I believe he's already ready for single A, low A ball. Everybody else is going to be starting off at Arizona. So everyone else will have some guys will have a little bit of taste of baseball this year. The rest of them won't see a field till next year. So that's it for this video. I will see you at the end of July. And hopefully we're also the Arizona Complex champions. Back-to-back champions, by the way. Till then.